press, or who is it appropriate for? So it's going to be appropriate for powerlifters because it's one of the events they compete in. It's going to be appropriate for really anyone who wants to learn how to do a barbell bench press, especially if you've been doing dumbbell bench press for a long time and you've gotten comfortable with the movement and proficient at it and you're wanting a little bit more of a challenge. You might see people in the gym doing barbell bench press. It's also a movement that's taught at our Monday and Friday night strength class. So the first part of barbell bench press is figuring out your setup. So you want to have your setup standardized, so every time you approach the barbell and to do your bench press, the barbell is in the same spot, the bench is in the same spot. So really the main thing to consider is where you put your pins for the barbell. So the pins just hold the barbell. You can adjust them up and down. If you have longer arms, you're going to adjust them higher. If you have shorter arms, you're going to adjust them lower. You want them at a place where you can easily get the barbell off the pins before you start your barbell bench press. So if they're too high, you're going to have to reach up. If it's too low, you're going to have to basically do a little bit of a bench to then get the barbell out. So you want to sort of play with it and find that position and then remember it for the future. After you have your pin set and the barbell is where you want it and the bench is good, the next thing you're wanting to focus on is your setup. So you got the barbell set up, now you want to focus on your setup. So you get under the bar, really the main thing you want to think about is pushing your shoulder blades down. Now I tell clients you can sort of think of it as like you're wiggling your shoulder blades into place, like you're pushing your shoulders down towards your hip bones. That's going to elevate your back a little bit and create arch in your back, which isn't a bad thing as long as your butt stays on the bench the whole time. Why this is important is it creates stability in your back, and that allows you to transfer force and to basically move most efficiently in the barbell bench press. So you get under the bar, you put your back flat on the bench, you wiggle your shoulders down towards your hip bones so your back is off the bench a little bit and a little bit of an arch, and that's your setup. Another question that people have with the barbell bench press is where do they put their feet, or where do I put my feet? So it definitely depends on your goal. If your goal is to compete or to train in more of a powerlifting style, then you want to mimic how a powerlifter is going to do bench press, which means your feet are flat on the ground, they're sort of, next to the bench, you're not straight out, you sort of want to tuck your hips back, so that does require a little bit of hip mobility to do that. So let's say you're not trying to compete or train in a powerlifting style, but you still like to bench press, then maybe putting your feet on the bench with using sub-max loading, less weight, is not necessarily a bad thing. So really it just depends on your goals and where your mobility is at. Once that's all set up, your feet, your butt, your shoulders, then you can think about the descent of the barbell. Now, a lot of people think about the descent of the barbell as the bar is literally falling onto your chest, hitting your chest, and that's the descent. Instead, you want to think about it a little bit more controlled, which doesn't mean necessarily slower. It just means that you're thinking about actively pulling the bar down instead of letting the bar fall onto your chest. So you're actively pulling the bar down to your chest before you get to the next part, which is the press or the ascent of the movement. Where do you want the bar to chest? I'd say sort of like right at your breastbone is a good spot to hit. Now if you do certain variations of the bench press, like let's say you're doing a closer grip, that may change where the bar is, or you're doing a wider grip, that may bring the bar down a little bit. But generally speaking, right about like your breastbone area is a good place to start. So the next part is the ascent, or the actual press of the movement. So a lot of people think that your upper body is working here, right? You're pushing the barbell off your chest with your arms and your chest muscles. But your legs are also doing a lot of work. That movement itself is actually called the leg drive. And what that means is as you're pressing with your arms, you're actively pushing your feet hard into the ground, almost like you're trying to push yourself back towards the bar without actually doing that. You're really pushing your feet hard into the ground as you're engaging your lats and pushing the bar away from your body into a lockout, so your elbows are locked out at the top of the bar. So one of the common mistakes with bench press is that someone will go too fast and they'll just bang out reps like one after another. That's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're warming up and it's very little weight on the bar or it's just a free barbell. But as the weight gets heavier, you want to take a second to take a deep breath through your belly and tighten everything up, squeeze your butt, squeeze your abs, and then bring the bar down and sort of do that same thing, setting up before each rep so you're nice and tight. That's what's going to give you the best chance of pressing that weight most efficiently and smoothly. So another common mistake that I see all the time is people's butt coming off the bench when they bench press. Now it's not a bad thing, like if it happens once or twice, but chronically it can lead to, injury or, just other bad mistakes and, habits basically. You want your butt to stay firmly on the bench for the entirety of the lift, and if you find that it is popping off, you might need to lower the weight down or, really think about a certain cue that works for you to keep your butt pressed down. But usually it's because someone is using too heavy a weight and they need to drop the weight a little and reinforce that proper form. Another reason why your butt may be popping off is your foot placement. So if your feet are too far out when you're pressing the barbell up, that's going to cause your butt to shoot up as well. But if you bring your feet in, tuck them in, like if you have the hip mobility to do that, that's going to keep your butt flat on the ground when you're pressing the barbell away from you. So another common mistake that people sometimes make with barbell bench press is they lose their shoulder positioning during the movement. So remember we talked about with the setup, you get your shoulders sort of tucked in, shimmied into place, but while they're bench pressing, you can lose that position. And then what happens is your arms become sort of disconnected from your body, and now all of that weight is just in your arms as opposed to being the force being transferred through your whole body. And all of a sudden the weight feels way heavier, it's not a great position for your body to be in, and it's just going to be more difficult and not feel very comfortable either. So the way to fix this is making sure that you're taking your time, you're being intentional with your movement, you're locking out at the top of the movement, and you're just making sure that your shoulders are done. If you found that you lost that shoulder positioning, it might make sense to re-rack the barbell, reset up to where you need to be, and then start again. Sometimes I find a little bit of chop on my back shoulder blades can help too if I'm feeling like I'm slipping and I'm losing that shoulder positioning. So today we went over the standard barbell bench press, but there are many variations of the barbell bench press you can use depending on where you're weakest in the movement. So if you find that towards the lockout position, when you're like right there, if that's when you're feeling like you're not as strong in position, then maybe a close grip bench press is going to be a good variation for you to add in addition to your standard barbell bench press, because that's going to force you to use your triceps a little bit more. Whereas if maybe your sticking point in your bench press is right when the barbell's at your chest, like right before you start pressing the barbell up, then maybe something like even a pause bench press actually can make most sense, where you pause at the bottom for maybe 2 seconds and then you come back up. Versus the rack press, you find your sticking point is right in the middle of the movement, right when you're at that midway point as you're pressing the weight up. Something like a rack bench press where you set the pins in the safety bar where the bar usually is at the sticking point, and then press from that point. That can help you if your sticking point's right in the middle there. But ton of variations to do depending on where you find your weakest point is. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just reach out to us.